Start. We got it. Welcome back to 2024. You're listening to Take a Stand, where we speak life into the community. I am your host, Damita Chatman, for the next hour. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Uh, just like us, you can download us on Apple television, on Roku television, and your smart devices. Today, I got Representative Lydia Glaize here today, and I'm excited because something is in the water down in Georgia. And so we're going to have to talk about the maps and what we're going to do and go from here. I want to thank Representative Glaize for coming in today. We also have Representative Debra Bazemore that will be coming in. So just as soon as she come in, she's going to join. She's running behind. But again, I want to thank all of them for coming. Thank you, Representative Glaize. I'm going to give you a minute to introduce yourself and give us a little something about you. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say Happy New Year. 2024 is a year that I believe that much more is to come. I'm House Representative Lydia Glaize from District 67, which is inclusive of Union City, Palmetto, Fairburn, District 4 of City of South Fulton, and then parts of Noonan and Coweta County. So it's 5 cities and 2 counties. It's an honor to be with you and a pleasure to be with my dear friend, Damita Chatman. We know for sure that you guys want to know what we have to talk about today. So I'm honored that we're going to get to talk about what happened with the maps, what the judge's final declaration was, and probably where we're going with the maps, and then what's happening. What are the updates? What are we going to be looking at as far as Democrats, as far as new policies and trying to get conversations started about policies to come. So I'm excited to be with you today. I'm getting ready to call you Minister Chatman.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I know, sis. I know what you're gonna say.
So that must be a prophecy, but I'm gonna say to my dear friend, Miss Damita Chatman, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. And she gonna tell me I done told you about saying don't say it, don't say it. I know that's what she gonna say. But thank you, Representative Glaize, for coming today. Let's talk about I read somewhere today that is it Lieutenant Governor Jones?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, I think that to end up, Mr. Richard Rose put a lawsuit against him, and I think the judge came down today with the ruling that they favored Judge Wilson favored Lieutenant Governor Jones. And let me say this before I get started: everything that I say is said today is my views and not the show producer and not some of the representatives. So if I go off script, or because I don't have a script, but if I ask some stuff and talk about some stuff, don't hold it on to the representatives. You can contact me. So Lieutenant Governor Jones case was favored him, and I think I read where Mr. Rose was kind of disappointed, but he didn't. He knew that Judge Wilson was going to give it to Lieutenant Jones. Do you think that was fair?
Well, I'm going to not speak on that case because it is, even though the judge has come down, if they actually have an appeal, then that case will be open, and anything said by certainly sitting representatives from the Georgia General Assembly,
I don't want you to say nothing.
You could be sequestered. So I won't be able to speak to that issue.
I don't want you to talk about that. So tell me, the maps that was redrawn by the Republicans, and you have to live in Georgia to understand with those maps done. It really put the black folks against the black folks, and really basically want to say, we want y'all out of here and we finna take control. That's my saying. So did that maps affect you in your
It did not
district?
affect District 67, but it did affect so many of my colleagues. So on the House side, the judge said that the maps were supposed to be drawn where there's 5 new additional Black House seats. So with that said, the Republicans did go in and they drew an additional 5 seats. But what they did is they had 3 areas that were coupled. Coupled meaning they put sitting Democrats against each other. So that means that if you put 2 House districts that are Democrats against each other, you're only going to come out of that with 1. So that really only means that you only realize 2 additional seats and not 5. So in 3 different areas, they coupled Democrats with Democrats. And what's so hurtful about it is these are Democrats who are white male. So, and we're going to lose them. Representative Doug Stoner has said that he won't run, and Representative Greg Kennard said he won't run. These are 2 well-seasoned, strong Democrat white males that we're going to lose from the party. For me, that's the most hurtful thing. Having those additional seats, you're only going to realize it with 2. Now they put 2 women together, Betsy and Syra. So they're going to run against each other. They're going to run against each other. That's tough to see. One is seasoned, one is new, but both of them are great. So I really don't like the way that those maps ended up, but I'm pretty sure that there was purpose behind putting white men in against others, Democrats, and those 2 white men did turn in. They're basically they're not information sharing that they're not going to run again. We don't want the Democratic Party in Georgia to be an all-Black party. We know for sure there is no way we could win the state just with African Americans. And so I really am disheartened by that. So I'm hoping that as we move forward on the House side, that we will do more mending our relationships, because it did affect just heartfelt, all of us, because we don't want to see our colleagues pit against each other. And that's right. What happened.
Well, I did a post last week, Representative, about Stoner, because I endorse both of them, in the future, their future elections. And I said this, and I'm glad you cleared that up. I said, why would these Democrats, that's Representative calling me, and maybe she can call Penny. I said, why would these 2 Democrats give up their seats, in an election so crucial? So now I understand. And I'm going to say this.
They were coupled on purpose. So that means the new districts were drawn so that both of them were in the same district now. 2 sitting incumbents were in the same district.
Okay, I said
and they did that 3 times.
They did. So let me ask you this, and I'm trying to get a representative on. Do you think? Okay, I'm gonna. Do you think that the Republicans are trying to draw, and I'm gonna use this word, draw out the napkins and put them against the Black people?
if you were going to couple and you
Okay.
basically coupled white seasoned
Mm-hmm.
House reps,
Mm-hmm.
I think you were intentional.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can elaborate more than that, other than I'm definitely sad because our party is the big tent party, where white males and white females, where Black males and females, Asian and African and um, international uh, folks could come and become a member of this body.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I just think that that's a sad day in Georgia when we don't allow for our maps to keep people in who've already served and to align them against their own party. That for me was very disheartening.
I'm sorry to be looking down. I'm trying to get this over to. Okay, I got it. Let me ask you a question. As you remember back years ago, they did the same thing with the late Emma Darnell and I
And
and my
Bill,
friend Bill Edwards. They did the
yeah,
same exact thing. In my
it's
opinion, is this what they're doing now?
it's coupling Democrats, strong Democrats against other strong Democrats to ensure that one of them does not come back.
Mm. So right now, you have some Black people that think that they can take control of these different elections, being the minority, majority. They can't do it. You're going to have the other folks involved in order to win these elections. Do
That
you
is
agree?
correct. And certainly you want them involved. You want our Asian and our Hispanic brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
You want white males and females. You want our LGBTQ. You want the whole tent to be able to come in and continue to make this democracy a more perfect union in Georgia. And that's important. And all of these lenses give us what we say we are, and that's a melting pot, and
Mm-hmm.
allowing for those who come to these shores or who are already on these shores for 300-400 years, like African Americans, that they can participate in the democratic process and they can build their futures by being their own representation. So it's important to understand, I think, that coupling Democrats against each other was a way
Mm-hmm.
of reducing the number of Democrats
Mm.
inside the House, inside the Senate, and certainly inside the congressional maps were drawn in such a way that Congresswoman Lucy McBath was actually drawn totally out of her district. And now she will have to run in a total another district. And that district that she'll be running in is basically a red district.
Mm. So it was all designed. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that the Democrat have to have a very serious plan in order to win the 2024 election?
Absolutely. And I think we can do it. So let me start there. I think that what we've shown starting in 2020, when we got two senators elected, Senator Ossoff, Senator Raphael Warnock,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were able to get this as a blue state for President Joe Biden. Then we came back in 2021 and we got uh, Raphael Warnock. We were able to get him back in. Then we came back in 2022. And so we have been able to coalesce work from the ground roots to get our folks out to vote, and they understood what was at stake. But I think even more in 2024, it's been said from hollowed halls to on the street that this is not about a Republican or a Democrat. This is about democracy.
That's right.
We're going to have a democratic legal system, government, and allow our folks to be represented, I think that's what's at stake. And we cannot sit home. We cannot be without a strategy. So even in districts where people are not don't have a primary, I think it's incumbent upon us to get out and help those who have a primary, so that we can help our neighbors, our other party members actually do their best by being involved in other elections if we don't have a primary. So if I don't have a primary, I'm going over to help someone else.
Oh, I like that. Representative Debra Bazemore is coming in. Unmute. Thank you, Representative Bazemore. Give me a minute of your introduction, please. We was just talking. We weren't talking about too much, but give me your interview. How you doing, Representative?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Chatman. Thank you for having me. Once again, love you dearly. And good afternoon to my colleague, Representative Lydia Glaize. Appreciate both of you and your audience. So thank you so much for having patience with me. I had a 1 o'clock that I didn't know about until the last minute, and I had to take care of that. You know, I have to take care of my constituents.
There you go. It's okay. So give me who you represent, what areas you represent, and etc.
Okay, thank you. So I used to represent more of a district, and I'm sure my colleague talked about that. But now I represent District 69, which I'm happy to represent. That encompasses a little portion of Hateville, Union City, City of South Fulton, and a large portion of Fayetteville. So that's who I represent now. And we are getting acclimated to our new maps because we were in limbo for a little while, as most of you know, to find out what the judge was going to do, you know, after he called us into special session to address the issue of those maps that were not done correctly. So now we know that it is etched in stone for 10 years, unfortunately.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Did your district get affected by those maps?
Just a teeny bit. I was shifted just a little bit, and I got a little bit of another area that I didn't have before, which is a little portion of Hateville.
Okay, so what we were just talking about the maps and how will it affect us and what we should do as a Georgia to make sure that we stay blue down here. Do you think that, and I was asking Representative, that the Democrats should have a strategic plan to keep this city blue?
Most definitely. I think first and foremost, I think that we need to have our own narrative and tell our own story. That is one of the biggest problems that I see. We need to be everybody on the same page when we do tell the story. And we need to be able to reach each and every person with the same message. Because if you notice the other side, they have a message, they drill it. Even if it's not true, it becomes true.
Yeah.
Because you've heard it so much. So I think that's something that we need to make sure that we do with our constituency. And I'm gonna tell you, anywhere I go, if I'm in the grocery store, if I'm anywhere in the street, if I'm at an event, I'd like to talk to people to find out if you're my constituent, or even if you're not my constituent, just to educate them on some of the issues. And I've gotten in some really good conversations with people because of that. And I'll just add this. as some of you might know, I was just in Ghana. And as I'm standing there waiting for my bags, this lady was there and she was talking and whatever. And I started talking to her, found out she was from Georgia. She lives in Princeton Lakes. But what she said to me next shocked me. She's in real estate, but she doesn't vote.
Oh, wow.
So those are the kind of conversations, once you start talking to somebody, you need to find out. So who's your representative? Do you know? If you don't know, let me show you how to find out. And then find out, why don't you vote?
Absolutely.
Because, and this is what I said to her, I said, do you realize that if I introduce a bill down at the Capitol and it is passed, it's going to affect not only your life, but everybody's life in Georgia. So you need to know the people. You need to Google those people, make sure those people's, what they believe in lines up with what you believe in. And if it does not, then don't put them in office.
Right. But let me ask you a question, and I'm going to ask both of you guys this question because I take polls at work sometime, and I just go up and ask, some of them is young and some of it is older, and some of it's older than me. And I ask the question, do you vote? Are you registered? And you'd be surprised of the folks that look like me that don't vote. So how are we going to reach, especially the young folks, to come out and vote? Because I think it's very important. So what are you guys, you and Representative Glaize, going to do to try to reach the constituents in just in your area? How are you going to do that? I'm going to start with you, Representative, and then I go to Representative Glaize.
So I have some things planned already to work. I'm going to have a District 69 check-in this month, the 29th, and it's specifically targeting 11th and 12th graders in my district. And so what I want to do is have an open, honest conversation, provide resources. And then at the same time, while you have them there, you can then find out, how do you feel about voting? What do you think voting will do for you or not? How can we help you understand how important it is?
Okay.
And then other legislators are invited to come in to have a talk with them so they can see a variety of legislators and whatever else, because one person can give them a certain amount of information, but then Representative Glaize can come in and she can come from a different standpoint. You know what I'm saying? We put it all together, and then I think that'll help them.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Representative Glaize?
Well, first of all, I think that the best place to connect with our young constituents are on social media. So I made sure that I have a young person who actually puts my social media together, and she uses her own lens. I give her topics. She then uses her own lens to put them together. She sends it back to me, and I try to use the lens and the language that she uses. That's number one. Number two, I've got a young intern who is in college, who is working with me on my education bills, on my bills, on my town halls. And that gives you that perspective of young people, because they're going to ask the questions. They're going to continue to lift up things that work for them or that they are interested in. And then we've got a whole group of 30 something who have college debt, and they want to know how we're going to live now that we've got this college debt, and we have to pay for it again. So the time frame and the waiver is over. But what we did talk about is the fact that you could continue to get a waiver. If your income is not enough, you can still get a waiver in paying back your college loans. We're going to be in the community on January 13th, this Saturday from 11 to 12:30. And it's going to be the 2 senators and the 2 House reps. So myself, House Rep Mandisha Thomas, Senator James, and Senator Halpern in Fairburn. And we're going to give that time for people to sit in front of us and ask us questions. Like, what are we going to be doing in 2024? What's rising to the top? And what is the Democrats on the House side, on the Senate side, doing? What kinds of legislation? So we're going to be talking about policy, and we're going to be talking about how the maps changed. Senate District 35 changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Senator James always had Union City, Palmetto, and Fairburn, and next year her new maps that won't be her area anymore. So we're trying to get the word out so people can understand during this election year they've got to be looking for a different person who will run for senator in those cities.
So let me ask you a question, and thank you for that. Let's go to some of your bills, and since I got you, Representative Glaize, tell me 2 of the bills that you're working on that you want to see pass under
So the first
2024.
one is Georgia Legislative Black Caucus has a contract with Black Georgia. And in education, we came up with a reason. We actually researched to find out what is the reason, the main reason that our schools in certain majority African-American communities are not meeting or exceeding the Department of Ed standards. And we came with that, and we looked, and we had some research done, and we overlaid the map to see what the problem was. Well, the problem is it's a low tax district usually. And those low tax districts mean we don't have enough money and resources for us to provide an adequate, fully funded public education. So the first bill will be a funding formula plus bill. That plus will be in those areas, rural, urban, and suburban, where there's a low tax base, meaning we don't have enough houses. We don't have enough houses that have a good value to it, and therefore you have less income, lesser tax base, and therefore you have less taxes to go around in that community. So with that, we're going to ask for additional funding for those schools because we know they need it. Usually those kids are living in poverty and they need more than just free lunch and free breakfast. Many of them need a computer. Many of them need a modem for the internet. Many of them need additional things like clothes. When it's cold, we're getting ready to get cold in the next 6 hours. A lot of those kids don't have what they need. And so right before Christmas, we did a Hope for the Holidays, and we knew kids needed coats and scarves and hats and gloves. We know they needed thorough clothes that were heavier. So we made a concerted effort. We got a sponsor to give $5,000, and we went to the hotels and motels where there are kids living with their parents, and they are paying $400 to $500 a week to be in these motels in one room with 2 beds, and that's where they're living. So we went there where those students are that we know live there, but we don't see them because we don't look far enough. We see the kids who can get to the local rec center and get a free gift and toys, but we don't see those kids in hotels. So we took Christmas dinner to them, hot meals, turkey, and 2 sides, rolls, And we went there and we actually met the parents beforehand, got the children's name, got their sizes, and we made sure that we met them where they were.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it was not just a blessing as we did it last year, but this year we had a sponsor, Mr. Ed and Jamie Wyatt from Green Oil, who made that happen by giving us a $5,000 donation. And we used just about every dime to make sure 3 kids in 3 different hotels, 1 in Fairburn and 2 in Union City, that they had adequate clothing, they had toys for the holidays, and then we gave them gift cards.
Right. Representative Bazemore, so what one bill that you sponsoring that you want to see pass?
So I'm gonna try to do 2 real quick.
Okay, you do 2 real quick.
So I'm glad that my colleague brought up.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to get off for a few minutes because I got a delivery going to my mother's house and they trying to reach me. So
Sure.
let me, you keep on talking though.
Okay. So I'm glad that my colleague brought up housing, because that's something that is dear to my heart, near to my heart. So as I said before, that I sat on that study committee and I was actually blown away where we sit, the crisis that we are dealing with in Georgia. And it's not just in Georgia. It seems like it's across the United States that is a problem. Yeah. And so we do say that we need to do something. And so there was a coalition that was formed from different entities that work in this industry to come together to try to agree on some type of bill that we could get passed, so that, and everybody's not going to agree, everybody's not going to be happy, but we have to start somewhere. And so that bill is coming down the pike, and I'm working with the chairman to help get that passed, so that we can have affordable housing. We can have houses. We don't have enough units right now on the market to even have people move into, even if they had the money. So, because we've always seen that the older individuals, they usually downsize, but because of the market and because there are no houses on the market, and those that are on the market, they're going twice as much. So nobody's going to move out of their current home and then pay more for something that's less. So there's just nothing out there. So hopefully that bill, we can get some people to jump on. And it seems like we have some people that are interested to help move this forward. The other thing is, well, I don't know which one to tell you about. Salary band bill has been out there for a minute, and that's so that when especially a woman goes for an interview for a job, that prospective employer cannot ask them how much they made on their previous job. Because what happens is, if I was making $50,000 on the previous job, but this job is actually paying 65, if I say 50, then they can lowball me. Yeah. And we know we have a lot of women that are head of households. So, with a man, unfortunately, they try to pay them that much or more. So that is still on the books. But the other thing, and along with education, is that I had gone to, I have a large portion of Fayetteville, and I had gone to a conference over there at Trilith movie studio, and I met this man that helps children that write books get their books published. And I thought that was amazing. And so he does that. He trains them and tells them and what to do and how to do it. And then you have illustrators, because you need an illustrator to work on the book, to illustrate all the pictures and everything else. And so he actually allowed my granddaughter, because she does animation, she illustrated her first book. And so my thing is, I don't think that should be just for a few people. That should be available in our schools for our children. You get them reading, you get them writing books, publish books. You know, you don't know where those children would go from that point. So I'm looking at legislation. I've already talked to the speaker. I've talked to appropriation. I've talked to everybody. And now the bill is being drafted and everybody's excited about it. So
I was just not cutting you off. I was going to ask you. I know you said it was happening in your district in Fayetteville, but my question was going to ask: had you asked everybody, your colleagues across the aisle, because we might have some writers over in District 67 and 50 and all them other, you know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
So, great. I like that. Let me ask you a question because these maps is very important. Where do y'all go from here since the maps has already been, the judge ruled on these maps? So are these maps, are they in stone?
They are in stone, and that does not mean, though, that they cannot appeal the maps. And so what I know is that there is going to be appeals. And from what I understand, there is going to be an appeal. And what that appeal will do is it'll go to the 11th Circuit. And then the 11th Circuit will make a decision. And after the 11th Circuit, if it's still not a compromise on the maps, then I hope one of the organizations will appeal that, and then it will go directly to the Supreme Court. So right now it could be that it's in stone for 10 years, but I'm going to not put that out there. I'm going to say it's going to go to the 11th Circuit, and then after that, it will go to the Supreme Court. And what the issue is what they call diverse communities. So it means that there's a community that Blacks, Hispanics, and Asians live in that comes back as a Democratic district. So what the Judge Jones said is that we didn't ask about those type of districts. So the lawsuits were only for Black districts. So he made his ruling on whether they created these additional Black districts. But now I believe we're going to go back, or there's going to be maybe the ACLU or Alpha Phi Alpha, who actually did lawsuits in the beginning, are supposed to appeal and go back and see if we can get districts that are multicultural districts.
Let me ask you, because Representative Glaize, is this your first term down there, or you going on your second term?
First term, second year.
Okay, let me ask. So I'm gonna ask Representative Bazemore, since you've been on it longer. Have you ever, since you've been under the Gold Dome, saw such divisiveness between the GOP and the Democrat Party?
Thank you for asking that question. I have not, and it was really discouraging and upsetting. I really had to regroup myself because I was very angry because they were not allowing us to represent our constituents. And it's hard. And I don't think your constituents understand. I just had this conversation with somebody at the meeting I left, and they don't understand that we couldn't get things done because we're not in control. We don't have the numbers. And so when a party is in control, then all of them are chairpersons of any particular chair. And so when you introduce a bill and that bill is sent to their committee, you have to go and ask them to allow your bill to be heard. And so I can't tell you the stories, the comments that I received when I went to some of the chair people. Well, I like you, but liking me has nothing to do with my bill because I'm representing my constituency. Well, you are like here, like you don't make a whole lot of noise in the press and you don't do this, but this person does. And so you start to hear how they determine if in fact they're going to give you anything.
Let me ask you a question, because you just said something, and I'm going to ask both of you this question, because I know that you had a couple Democrats that went after these Democrat areas, mostly all Black areas, and once they got the vote, they went down there and decided that, oh, I'm going to change parties now. I don't want you Black folks. I want to be over here with the white folks. Tell me, how do you feel about that? And that's in Representative Bazemore, how do you feel about Democrats hitting our votes and then going and changing? How do you feel about that?
So it was very upsetting. However, people may have thought that it caught us by surprise because they just heard about it in the news. However, I was on leadership and I was the chief deputy whip. And so I had the last person that changed. I had several conversations with that person because one part of my job is to make sure we all vote the same way. And if not, I understand we have different districts. Just explain to me why you're going the way you're going. And this particular person continually voted with the Republicans. And so the vice chair and I went to have a conversation, and it just continued. So we were not surprised at all when the flip happened. The person before that person, and this is what cracks me up though, is that they go on this tour and talk about the Democrats left me, I didn't leave them, and all of this, trying to justify why they did what they did. However, there's no justification. You are either going to stay with the Democrats or you are going to go to the other side. There were indications throughout the year that we saw that was going to be the case. And it is really hard for our constituents in those districts to trust again, because now you have somebody that betrayed you and they're saying they're a Democrat and then they flip to something else. And that's probably part of the reason why some people don't come out to vote anymore.
Okay, gotcha. What you think about that, Representative Glaize?
I do agree with my representative that it did not take those of us in the Georgia General Assembly by surprise. And I just got here year one and went through one session and saw the votes that the person was making. And I knew for sure that they were voting Republican because they wanted to assure that they could get work done and their bills passed. And they did do exactly what they needed to do. And that's to go on over and become a Republican.
Okay. Now let me ask you
that they voted that way. They needed to be in the party in which they voted. So I think that's for them. That's what they needed to do.
Right.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question, because I understand that we have to work together. We have to cross the aisle on certain things to get it done. I know all of that. But what I've heard over a year and a half, that it is other Democrats that do the same thing, but they come back to the community and the constituents like they're really working on our behalf. But yet when they're under the gold dome, it's a different story. You don't have to answer that. That's a yes or no? Do you agree with that, Representative Glaize, or you gonna say I abstain?
I'm gonna say there are probably others who vote probably against some of the laws that we think and policies that we think are good for just to have a democratic society. But what I can say, what I've seen, is that they usually don't get up in the well
Okay.
and speak against a democracy lens. But when you get in the well and you speak against a democratic lens, then I think for sure you need to be in the other party.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Do you
And
agree?
let me add this too. And some, if you look at some people, where they've co-sponsored things with those type people, you will see that their goal and their aim is just to come back and say, oh, I help sponsors. So a lot of times we have individuals that just want to say, I passed this bill, because they're a co-sponsor with the person that is actually voting with the Republicans, because of the ties that person has with a Republican or the Republicans. They know that bill is going to get passed, so they sign on to that bill. And so, you know, there, a lot of people are not down there for the same reason. I'll put it like that.
Okay. I say to show and tell and dress up a resume. That's what I say, and y'all don't have to say it. I said it. Let me ask you a question. Now that these maps are drawn, and they might, I'm going to say I'm going to pray that they don't, but I'm also going to be look at it at the real that they're probably going to do what they do.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are your plans, and give me in 1 minute, to help your colleagues that's going to be there and go back to make sure things are passed.
So I think one of the things we're doing now is coalescing. So with the Georgia House Democratic Caucus, we just did a maternal health public health hearing that was on January 4th. And what we know for sure is after the Georgia Public Health published their report, which is a 4-year study on the maternal health, it did come up with that Black women are 3.5 times more likely to die during or while birthing or after. So with that said, it's clear on its face that Georgia must respond to the needs of women of color in the area of maternal health. One thing we did do in 2023 was we allowed Medicaid to take care of the mother up to 12 months after the pregnancy. That was a huge step, but it was just one step. So now we've got to make sure that we allow doulas, licensed doulas, and midwives to get in the process of helping women of color, particularly Black women, when they are pregnant, so that they can get through the pregnancy with an advocate, with someone who is knowledgeable and that is around, so that they can get the proper care that they need, and that when they are having illnesses and problems with the pregnancy, that they have an advocate to speak for them. So it's the coalition, it's the public health, it's the public hearings, and our Georgia House Dems coming together, our Georgia Legislative Black Caucus coming together and putting legislation out there that we're all coalescing to work on, to get it to the committee and then hopefully get it out to the floor to vote on it.
Okay, great.
So I just wanted to add that when I was on leadership, and even before that, I did make a suggestion that we would have our own committee meetings and our own hearings. And even last year, I had suggested that we do that again, because I remember when we had done it, when we changed from the machines, the voting machines years ago. And so what we started to do at that time, we started to break out into committees, and we put different ones in charge of those specific committees. And we had the media come, since they would not allow us to have hearings. We had the media to come, we had the public to come, and those that were professionals in that area to come and speak to the public was invited also. And so that they could see, like I said, the messaging, they could see and hear what we were doing. And so even last year, we talked about several different things, having hearings on. And so, yes, we have come together, as my colleague has said. And so I was approached by the chair of the Black Caucus, Chairman Gilliard, last year, so that we could work together, because I was working on something and I asked the leader. So we brought it together. And I think we had one hearing at that time because we were cut a little short. But now we have more time, and all of us are coming together, saying the same thing, putting it out so that everybody can see exactly what's going on and exactly what we're working on. And then hopefully that will help us to move the needle forward.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Now let me ask you a question, because this is dear to my heart, and that is the city of South Fulton. And I know both of you guys are part of the South Fulton delegation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
How do you guys feel about the charter being changed to please people when they wanted to favor them? How do you feel about that, Representative Bazemore? And then I'll go to Glaize, if you don't mind. We down about 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Okay.
If we can real quick. How do you feel about that?
I'll try to hurry. So I'm glad you asked that question, because there has been misinformation put out. And as you know, I created the delegation for the city of South Fulton down at the Capitol. And a term is 2 years. So for 4 years, I sat as the chair. And we would get requests when somebody didn't like something, the council, or didn't like the mayor, or didn't like something. And my stance has always been, I will not change the charter based on who's sitting in that seat. Because first of all, the constituents did not vote on a charter that you want changed because of the situation. You cannot do that. And the other part of this is some people don't even understand. They say that we are overreaching when we make changes. Well, what is not understood, I don't think, is that every single year, and there's all different cities from everywhere, they make changes to their charter that are necessary. But if it's to appease somebody, I will not be a party to it. So I did step down after 4 years, and now I am the vice chair. I was asked to stay on as the vice chair. So that is not something that I would do. I would not even vote on that. It is what it is. And everybody is not going to be in that seat forever. So you cannot keep changing the charter back and forth and back and forth. It has to be to benefit the constituents.
What do you think about that, Representative Glaize?
Well, having sat on city council in the city of Fairburn, I'm just going to say there are times when the charter must be changed,
right,
due to adding a development authority, due to adding changes in maybe how you collect taxes, things of that nature. So as my representative and sister said, if there are necessary changes, then they should come and they should be changed. And that's what this delegation is for. And so last year we had a big bill that dealt with truck weights. And we heard from our municipalities that they did not want those truck weights to go up because they were tearing up municipal roads, and we don't help them fix their roads. And so we heard from them and we said, absolutely, we will vote no. We didn't win, but we did listen to them and we voted no. So charters do need to be updated, and there are areas where charters must be updated. So when you're having entertainment and you allow certain things during in the entertainment zone, that's been, we've had to update that. So if there are necessary updates, we should allow them, and we should work with our municipalities, development authorities. We should work with them. And then there are charters that have not been fully updated or since they were written. So that's City of Fairburn, City of Palmetto. So I suspect that if they would go forward and redo their charter, they've got a lot of codicils and added a lot of amendments, but some of those charters just need to be totally updated so that you have one good working document, like the City of South Fulton. They have the latest charter, so that's an updated, fully working document. But then there are other cities in South Fulton, like Palmetto and Fairburn, that still has things in there from the 1800s.
Oh wow! Let me ask you a question, because we down 3 minutes, and I'm going to ask you because I know I have a constituent that is watching this show, and he says this, so I want to get it from you guys. He says, what are the representatives and the elected officials under the Gold Dome going to do about all the trash on the streets and all the blighted communities that's in the Martin Luther King area? He used a statement all the time, and I have to agree with him. The Martin Luther King areas in our Black communities are horrible. What can we do under the Gold Dome to do that, or it don't fall under the Gold Dome?
It definitely does not fall under the Gold Dome. It's inside the municipality of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta.
Gotcha.
But when I was in the city of Fairburn, I got a letter from a 7-year-old girl who said, we've got too much litter on our streets. So we put together a litter patrol. So we allowed elementary, middle school students to come out with me on Saturdays, and those corridors that were highly trash, had a lot of trash, we cleaned them up. And we also gave them ethics and government lessons so that they would know how their government runs. That young lady who wrote that letter is now a senior in high school and is getting ready to go to the Air Force Academy. And I had to write a recommendation for her, and I referenced that she was the one who got our litter patrol coalition started. So I think that we have to take responsibility for where we live and cleaning up our own areas.
And let me add this real quick, because I don't think a lot of people know how to find out who their representatives are and what the job is. I have talked to the chair now of the delegation too, that we need to start having educational town halls. We need to educate people on what the city's responsibility is, what the county's responsibility is, and what the state responsibility and the congressional, because people, they will blame everything on one, or they just don't know. And so, but what I want everybody to know right now, if you don't know who your state representative and your state senator is, all you have to do is Google open states, altogether, open states. When you open that up and you scroll up, you will see where it says find your legislator, put in your address, click it, and pictures should come up as you scroll up, and you will see who your state house, the state senator, and then your congressional people. For your cities, then you go on that city's website and you'll find out.
Thank you. Since we got you, we down to 1 minute. I can sit here all day and talk to you. Give me your closing statement. Give me 20 seconds, Representative Debra Bazemore, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back with you guys.
I just want to say that this is not about us, it's about you all, and we need your help. We need you to show up down at your house, which is the Capitol. That's your house. You pay for it. We need you to write. We need you to call. We need you to make sure your voice is heard. Committee meetings, when there's something crucial. I've seen some of you when we dealt with those maps during the special session. Please come out and make your voice heard, because it does make a difference. Please make sure you go to the polls. This election is crucial. You already know what is happening. You know probably what's about to happen. We are already having death threats. We are having all kinds of phone calls, all kinds of pranks, everything. But we will stand for you. We will do the work, but we need you to stand with us. We need you to help us help you, because we can't do it without you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, we Representative Glaize.
Well, again, it's my honor to serve, but you only serve those who get engaged. And so your engagement is 100% necessary. Your input is 100% necessary. That's a phone call. That's an email. That's to come out to your town hall meeting. The next one is next Saturday in Fairburn. We need you to be there 11 to 12:30. And we want you there so we can answer your questions and take on some of the issues that you believe is necessary for you to thrive. We have to have your voice so that we can vote your voice. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? It's 3:02. We should have been off, but I want to thank the representatives for coming forth to talk about it. I'm going to have the senators come on in 2 weeks to give their perspective of what's going down. Just the disclaimer, it's the show host views and not the producer. I also want people to know, because I know people's going to say, well, why didn't you ask this representative? I sent emails out to the people, and when you do not get back with me at a certain time, and I've given you a month, that let me know that you don't want to come on, and I have to move on. So I want to thank you guys for coming. I want you to reach out to social media for Lydia, Representative Glaize, Representative Bazemore. Check their website out. Get engaged. I want to thank you guys for taking this time, because I know you're under the Gold Dome. We'll be in contact with you, and we'll be looking for great things. But let's go and get these seats. I know Representative Bazemore is up for re-election. So again, this is not the producer. Let's get her back into that seat to continue the work that she's doing down under the Gold Dome. So again, thank you guys for coming. Have a good day. I want you to stay on so she can get some pictures, since Representative was late. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Chapman.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Thank you.